Shalom, shalom. Right, man. Shalom, shalom, man. First and foremost, I want to say call halal, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kodash. We send double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Send much peace, love, and salutations to all you brothers out there pushing the word of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, sincerity and truth. It's the brother Ariala, and I got the elder brother Required Quam with me. And back at it again with another World War III algorithm. This one is titled Let the Weak Say I Am Strong. Okay. And what we're gonna do is just kind of highlight some of the things that have been going on over there in the Middle East, give a little bit of backdrop in history, more recent history. This is something that, a lesson that I did a while back and a lot of brothers have done concerning Ishmael and their relevance to prophecy and just how they were prescribed by the Heavenly Father to be at war with everybody around them. And it would draw everybody into the war of Armageddon. And we're seeing big pieces of that go down right now as Netanyahu and the state of Israel continues to their agenda to push further and further into Gaza to remove the Palestinians. And really, there's a economic and political expansion that Esau wants. They want to create a carnal blessing. They want to create we all know about the Greater Israel Project, and they are moving forward with that project, and it all links itself with the MOTB systems. We might not go all the way into that today, but it is all connected. Today, we're going to hinge more on World War III itself and all the players in that region and how they come into play, and show you guys some maps and give you brothers information. Of course, we're going to go through the prophecies and break those things down. But with the World War III algorithms, we like to go on the economic side, political side, and then we like to talk about the actual military combat side and how things are setting themselves up for Armageddon. Did you have any opening statements for Quarry Quam?
Nah. We can go straight into it.
Khan. Well, then I'm going to start off here in the book of Genesis, the 16th chapter, with the prophecy concerning Ishmael. And I'll start at the 11th verse. It says, And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Okay? And so when you look at this prophecy and you understand the history of Ishmael, he definitely fulfills this. He was been in the land in surrounding areas of what they call the Middle East. And with Ishmael, it's been constant war. They're constantly used as proxies, and it's always going down over there. Okay? It's always going down over there. They're always fighting, and it just is what it is. And I did a lesson a while back. I couldn't even find it on YouTube because they've deleted so many of our pages. Basically, going in on Sunni Muslims, Shiite Muslims, the history of everything. But I wanted to play this real quick from Vox. I'm not a big fan of Vox, but there's a small section in this video that kind of just highlights what we wanted to talk about here. And if you have any points of anything like that, you just let me know, okay? That's actually that's a good scripture. Brother mentioned their anointed refreshings. But Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Absolutely, man, that's what we see. Absolutely, that's what we see. But I'm going to make this the whole screen and play this, okay? Y'all let me know on the comment board if y'all can hear me.
He advocated for a government that was popular, Islamic, and led by the clergy. And in 1979, he led a revolution to establish just that. It was a massive international event that prompted reactions around the world, especially in Saudi Arabia.
Now, when you watch this video, they start off all the way from the 1900s to show you how Ishmael has basically always been at war. They're a wild man just going against each other, okay? Right now, they're highlighting the Iranian Revolution, but that leads into what we starting to see closer up to today, the dynamics of everything.
The Iranian Revolution terrified the government of Saudi Arabia. They were fearful that Ayatollah Khomeini would inspire their populations to rise up against them, exactly the way that he had caused the Iranian population to rise up against the Shah.
And there was a religious threat too. Up until now, the Saudis had claimed to be the leaders of the Muslim world, largely because Islam's two holiest sites, Mecca and Medina, are in Saudi Arabia. But Khomeini claimed his popular revolution made Iran the legitimate Muslim state. And there is another divide. Saudi Arabia's population is mostly Sunni, the majority sect of Islam, while Khomeini and Iran are mostly Shia.
So you can see here how Ishmael dwells within the midst of their brethren, all right, all throughout these regions. But they're always at war. They have different factions within the Muslim, so-called Muslim faith, and that leads to them easily being utilized by the Western world as as proxy armies. Well, them fueling these proxy armies is going to be a direct catalyst for the downfall of Babylon the Great and all their allies. For this beast that the whore rideth upon, is going to be a direct catalyst to their downfall.
Westerners always make a mistake in drawing an analogy between the Sunni-Shia split and the Protestant Catholic split within Christianity. The Sunni-Shia split was never as violent. That in much of the Islamic world, when Sunnis and Shia were living in close proximity, they got along famously well.
So while the Sunni-Shia split was not a reason for the rivalry, it was an important division. After the revolution, the Saudis' fears came to life when Iran began exporting its revolution. This CIA report from 1980 details how the Iranians started helping groups, mostly Shia, trying to overthrow governments in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia.
And they prompted the Saudis to redouble their efforts to fight against Iran.
So this is where you start to hear about Lebanon and Hezbollah, where you have in Yemen with the Houthi rebels. These are all supported by Iran. And also you have different factions in Iraq and Afghanistan that Iran supports all around this region.
They bolstered their alliance with the US and formed the GCC, an alliance with other Gulf monarchies. The stage was set for conflict.
September the 22nd, Iraqi planes attacked Mehrabad airport outside Tehran. Iraq was gambling on a short, sharp campaign.
The rise of Iran as a regional power threatened other neighboring countries as well. In September 1980, Iraq, under the rule of dictator Saddam Hussein, invaded Iran. He was hoping to stop the Iranian Revolution, gain power, and annex some of Iran's oil reserves. They didn't get far. The war bogged down into a stalemate, complete with trench warfare, chemical weapons, and heavy civilian casualties. When Iran started winning, the Saudis panicked and came to Iraq's rescue. They provided money, weapons, and logistical help.
And so it becomes critical to the Saudis that they build up Iraq and build it up into a wall that can hold back the Iranian torrent that they have unleashed.
This Saudi help allowed Iraq to fight until 1988. By then, nearly 1 million people had died. The Iranians largely blamed the Saudis for the war, and the feud escalated. Fast forward 15 years, and Iraq again became the scene of a proxy war. In 2003, the US invaded Iraq and overthrew Saddam Hussein. Neither Saudi Arabia or Iran wanted this to happen, since Iraq had been acting as a buffer between them. But problems arose when the US struggled to replace Saddam.
The United States has no idea what it's doing in Iraq after 2003, and it makes one mistake after another that creates a security vacuum and a failed state and drives Iraq into all-out civil war.
Without a government, armed militias took control of Iraq, splintering the population. Sunni and Shia militias suddenly sprang up all over the country. Many were radical Islamist groups who saw an opportunity to gain power amidst the chaos. These militias were ready-made proxies for Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they both seized the opportunity to try and gain power. The Saudis.
So now you have all of these different things. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you have all these different factions and all these wild men of Ishmael in Syria, in Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Bahrain, Oman, Iraq, Afghanistan, pretty much Jordan. You name it. There's these pockets for conflict and war. And you have all these different competing institutions and entities making a play. This region of the world has always been highly contested since the beginning of time. This has always been the epicenter of where the fighting has been. All right. And you know, it's funny, Apostle Rakal was talking about the Crusades and everything, and you can go on even before that. Always this was the epicenter. And Ishmael, fulfilling prophecy, was always there, combating, fighting, and basically having all these problems. Did you have any points on anything?
No. We can continue on that.
Okay, so with that being said, I wanted to put this backdrop. If you want to go watch this full video, you can. You see the title here, The Middle East Cold War Explained, to give you some more history for brothers that may not, you know, have a kind of a brushed up history on that. So now, fast forwarding into what we see now. Recently, you have the state of Israel that's been making a push to complete its agenda to basically capture the whole region of what we understand as Palestine. All right, this kind of new territory, right? And although all you saw was, there was these people that came in, paragliding in, they took hostages, they was killing people. There was already things going on in the backdrop that suggested that, okay, this is all a setup, and this is getting really juicy. Okay, this is getting really, really juicy, and we might have something on this one. Okay, so I want to play one more clip, and then we'll get a couple of scriptures to go along with it. Okay, actually a couple of clips. I'm gonna play this. Now check this.
In an unprecedented move, Israel has announced it will.
Now this was 4 months ago. Okay, this is 4 months ago. Right now, we're at the beginning of November. You can do the math, right?
Work alongside Egypt and the Palestinian Authority to develop the Gaza Marine Gas Field, a gas reserve off the coast of the Hamas-run Gaza enclave.
So there's a Hamas-run gas enclave, all right, in Gaza. All right, there's a Hamas-run gas enclave, meaning a lot of gas in Gaza, that Netanyahu just happens to agree with this deal that Hamas, the Palestinians, are going to make with Egypt. Interesting.
The gas field, which sits just about 30 kilometers off the Gazan coast, is estimated to
just about 30 kilometers off the Gazan coast. Where's the conflict right now? You guessed it.
Hold more than 1 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Discovered over 20 years ago, the gas has remained untouched due to the ongoing conflict between Israel and the Palestinian enclave. But now, with the West looking for alternative energy sources after distancing itself from Russia following the invasion of Ukraine, all parties involved.
Right? So now the West is trying to look for alternative energy sources outside of Russia, Mother Russia. And recently, Putin just announced that I believe the state of Israel is an enemy to me. I wonder why. So we're putting together the economic and political issues that lead into war, right? It's an algorithm.
They're willing to make new strides. In a statement earlier this morning, the Israeli Prime Minister's office citing economic reasons for the move.
In the framework of the existing efforts between the State of Israel, Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority, with emphasis on Palestinian economic development and maintaining security stability in the region, it has been decided to develop the Gaza marine gas field off the coast of Gaza.
The Egyptian-owned e-gas is expected to develop the field, pumping out more than enough gas needed for the Palestinian territories, allowing for the rest to be exported and provide vital income for the cash-strapped PA. Despite not being in talks on the project, Hamas is expected to unofficially sign off on any agreement to avoid
So he wasn't in any of the talks, but he's expected to just sign off, right?
the possibility of missile strikes on the new gas field once work begins.
So you have that, right? So they have this mega, gigantic gas pipeline deal off the coast of Gaza 4 months ago that basically is pretty much in the talks. They pretty much got it ran through with Egypt. Egypt's in on it, okay? And then out of nowhere, Hamas makes an attack on the state of Israel. Things that make you go, And this is a part of when we read in the book of Micah, the 2nd chapter, how they move with mischief and craftiness, upon their beds. It's constant.
You know what?
Always.
You know what's interesting is that this gas pipeline, when you go back, we spoke about in the previous algorithm, the original conflict in Syria was about gas pipeline as well. I'm trying to send you this. I'm gonna pop this link to you real quick. There's a map in there, and it will basically show you there was 2 proposed pipelines that needed to go through Syria. I'll just send it to you in the private chat. And one of the pipelines was from Qatar through to Turkey and then into Europe, and that was a deal set up by the United States. And then so that was to basically because Addis Abeba's going into Europe is heavily dependent on Russian gas, which obviously isn't good when your enemy is the one providing you with energy. That's a recipe for disaster. So they wanted to set up a Qatar-Turkey pipeline through Syria to alleviate some of the dependency on Russian gas. And that was the reason why they had to try and get rid of Assad, because there was an alternative pipeline. Have you got it up there, Art?
Yes, sir. Can you see it?
Is that the right one? Bro, Salaki, I've sent you the wrong. Hold on, I sent you the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. If you scroll down, there's a map that
okay. Let me make it bigger screen for everybody.
Just to give you an idea. There we go. That map. So as you can see on the map, the blue line was the United States-backed pipeline, which needed to go up through Syria. And the other alternative pipeline into Europe was Russian-backed, which obviously is the same issue. And that was from Iran through Syria. Obviously, Assad chose the side of Iran and Russia, which is why all of a sudden he became somebody that the United States needed to get rid of. And subsequently, they failed at that.
Yep.
Right. So then there was another option, which this Gazan gas can be another option to provide gas to Europe.
Yep.
And obviously,
that's like Israel, right here.
Yeah, Israel would be an ally in producing that. So, but again,
where it fits, Hamas controls that region. So good. You can't write a better script. Okay.
And the Lord set all this up from the very beginning, because this region is just so filled with oil and the fuel that people need for commerce, man. From the very beginning, the scriptures speak about that tar. That tar is what they were using to build the Tower of Babel. It was always there, just loads of it.
The oil,
But yeah,
yeah.
so the gas pipeline is strategically important. You know, and they're
God.
going to make a lot of money. You know, Netanyahu is going to be making crazy money because he's a
It's
criminal.
gonna be insane amount of money, right?
They're going to be
So
making money
Habakkuk
off.
2.
It's lucky. Go on
No,
now.
my bad. I was just gonna read the scripture. Good scripture. There's a car put Habakkuk 2:5. He put yea also because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death,
Yes,
and
so
cannot be satisfied, but gather. You got it, bro.
I was just saying that it's greed because these people actually do have a substantial amount of that land already. They have a substantial amount of that land. They want it all, and that's what the Greater Israel Project is all about. It's greed. They're not satisfied. They've already had like most of the land there. They've taken it for themselves, but they want it all. And that arrogance is going to lead to their destruction because that Greater Israel Project also encompasses the borders of these surrounding nations. So they're looking at this like if we let them have Gaza, then the next thing they want to take Syria's portion, then they want to take Jordan's portion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which they will.
They're
not going to stop with Gaza. You know, that's they're greedy, man, and that's the spirit of Esau. Because when you go to the Native American Indians, they took the East, didn't they? Which is a large portion of land. If you look at the eastern coast of America, those states, the original colonies, look at the size of the UK, right, or France or Spain, and then compare it to Boston, New York, you know, whatever, the state of New York. That's a large portion of land, and Esau was like, nah, I want all of it. And they just eventually just took the whole of America because they got that greedy, covetous spirit. Their desire is as hell. They can't be satisfied. They wanted it all, so they ended up over to the other side in LA.
Yep. Crazy. You know, that's why it says he enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. And you see that same spirit happening here in the conflict that we see in Gaza, where basically Netanyahu has committed himself to completely eradicate the Palestinians. He even quoted or made mention of Joshua getting the directive to completely eliminate the Amalekites. So they're likening themselves to Joshua and the Israelites eradicating the Amalekites out of the land, which is ridiculously ironic and hilarious.
Which they're more like Andrew Jackson.
100%. 100%.
It looks like Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson will probably say the same as Netanyahu with the genocide that Andrew Jackson perpetrated against the natives. You know, here in Micah 2:1, the brother Yanagas put, "Woe to him that devise iniquity. They plan it. They devise iniquity, and they work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields." I mean, they look at what you got and they want it. "And take them by violence." We already know what that means. "And houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage." But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. And so what's happened? Yeah, something you was about to say out?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's happened is instead of utilizing the terminology, the Greater Israel Project, which comes off very, very Zionist and racist, they've switched it to the New Middle East Project. Okay, so now they want to call it the New Middle East Project. And recently, literally just a little bit over a month ago, you had Netanyahu had a speech in front of the UN General Assembly in New York. All right, where he holds up something called the New Middle East. Mind you, this is just before Hamas attacks the state of Israel, conveniently, to spark the expansion of this new Middle East. Now look at the look at the green, the new Middle East. Okay, we'll play this. Okay,
to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East.
Israeli Prime
To show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday, while addressing the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York City, held up a map of the new Middle East without Palestine, thereby triggering yet another controversy. The new Middle East illustration showed the West Bank and Gaza within the boundaries of Israel. He displayed two maps during his speech. One depicted Israel's geography in 1948, accentuating its seclusion in the Middle East without the Allies. The second illustration included countries that have peace agreements with Israel, which included Egypt, Sudan, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Jordan. In his speech, he underlined the significance of bolstering ties with Arab countries, with a special emphasis on Saudi Arabia. After his address, he took to social media platform X and wrote, "The greatest achievement in my life is to fight for you, the Israeli people, and for our country. Shabbat Shalom." Netanyahu used the map to show a new era of peace in the Middle East that would include Palestine. However, his staunch critics say that the illustration conveyed the opposite of what was intended. The Israeli Prime Minister was widely denounced on social media for holding up the specific illustration. The Palestinian authorities.
And every time he gets ready, he starts holding up those ugly illustrations. He goes to bombing people. If you noticed,
Yeah, it could have been a little bigger than that. Still, that's like A4 size. Like, what's up with this dude, man?
Yeah.
They ain't got projector. Like, use a projector, man. You know, like
no projectors, nothing, man. Oh man, these dudes are absolutely filled with the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, so you know they're not playing around. They're not playing around. You know they ready to move forward. All right, and so basically he has this whole picture of the new Middle East, and it's meant to exclude Palestinians. It's going to take the lands, but it's going to exclude the people. That's really what he wants. Okay, and so now we start to put together the pieces of the mindset of them moving into these territories and being completely demonically set on war. Okay. But this time what's happened is that the Most High has moved the earth to be prepared for this. And they've put themselves in a trick bag. We started off talking about the proxy armies and how Ishmael has always been at war. So they're prepared for conflict. And not only are they prepared for conflict spiritually, because of all the geopolitical ties that have been around that region for traffic, for merchandise, for energy, and all those type of profits, they've done nothing but the Ishmaelites and the people in the Middle East have done nothing but continuously prepare for war for the last 40, 50 years, basically. They've been in a state of constant war and upgrading themselves to be ready for war. Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to go in on real quick, Hot?
Yeah, I mean, them guys were still on the horses in World War II, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the military expansion that they've had in the last 50 years is crazy. You know, it's a massive arms race in the Middle East. You know, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. These dudes have modern armies now. Iran. You know, it's not no joke thing.
Okay. So what we want to do now is what we want to do is show you the implications of a regional war in this area and It's going to make the prophecies jump off the page once you understand the capabilities of these nations surrounding the land of Israel today. It's going to make the prophecies make a lot more sense once you get a picturesque view of what we're dealing with. Okay? That's a good scripture. I'm actually going to read that real quick. If somebody wants to put Joel chapter 3, verse 9 on the comment board, that'd be good. Joel 3, 9 through 12. I'm pretty sure somebody was already about to get it. But I want to read this one scripture and then we'll open up this video. We're going to play a lot of this video. It's so good. We might end up playing most of this video. All right. So the brother GMS we got next put Isaiah 59:7. Their feet run to evil and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. Wasting and destruction are in their paths. Okay. The way of peace they know not. And there is no judgment in their goings. They just randomly kill. They have made them crooked paths. Whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. And have we not seen that? Is that not the legacy? Okay. Of the Edomites during their rulership? We see this. Now, you see the brother GMS Hawaii, he's posting Joel 3, 9 through 12, the Water Ak, and it highlights what's been happening here for the last 50 years. And we're going to use this video to talk about it. Did you have another point out?
No, we can run with that.
All right, let's roll.
Death is a cup from which every living thing must drink. Following the deadly Hamas attack in October, Israeli forces have pushed south and up to 300,000 reservists have been called up. The Israeli military has now set its sights on the Gaza Strip. However, ominous signs are growing on its northern border with Lebanon. Hezbollah has vowed to stand by Hamas and has threatened to open a second and third front.
All right, so pay attention here. Right now, the major conflict is down here in the west. You see Gaza. We talked about there being massive energy deposits right here in this area that they want to utilize to take pipes and go up through here up into Europe. Okay, so right now there's this front right here. When they talk about these northern armies here, is Hezbollah. Okay, dealing with that. Okay. And Hezbollah is very capable of mashing some stuff up, and you're going to see that. And anytime you want to cut in, Required Quorum, you just let me know.
To Israel's north. Already, Israel and Hezbollah have traded missiles, and a handful of troops on both sides have been killed. Civilians in the vicinity are getting ready for wider hostilities. In South Lebanon, the roads heading north are congested with traffic jams. People are fleeing, making way for a gruesome conflict that might just set the entire Middle East on fire. Hezbollah has roughly 130,000 rockets and missiles, and it could use that firepower to overwhelm Israel's air defenses and destroy Israeli bases and critical infrastructure, including presumed nuclear weapons facilities in northern Israel. So, yeah, as bad as things seem...
Come on, say, leave me alone.
In Gaza, this is the Middle East, where things can always go from bad to worse. The Israeli strikes on Gaza, Syria, and the West Bank are being widely covered in the media, with more than 200 sources reporting on the threat of these strikes igniting other fronts. These reports are being shared on social media around the world, leading to yet another type of conflict, an information war. On this channel, we prioritize diligent research rather than speed. We check multiple credible sources, and we try to capture nuance and complexity by seeking out claims from a detailed timeline of events showing how the media has covered the conflict, starting with the attack on October 7th. But on this issue, it's not just about left and right. There are national interests at stake. For example, I can see that 12% of sources covering the recent strikes were government affiliated. If I look at specific headlines, I can see that a source associated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps suggests that Israeli strikes are motivated by the United States. This is how governments attempt to win the information war. A Ground News unlimited access membership is about $5 a month if you use my link, because if you accept any one narrative 15 meters wide and 10
There we
meters
go.
deep.
Can I say something about the what we're seeing is the West, they're losing the battle for the minds of the world. You know, the majority of people in the world can know exactly what's going on. You know, the propaganda that they're pushing on CNN doesn't touch most of the world. You know, they're losing. Like the eyes of the world is really against them. You know, the so-called global South. Like nobody believes them. You know, and that's fulfilling the scripture. It says, "You shall be small among the heathen." You know, they're gonna despise you. Like most people look at these people with contempt.
God.
You know, if you look on the Western media,
also
they're
talks
not
about
showing
the shameful.
Yeah, the shameful spewing. The social media is just filled with like people bringing out the information, showing the dead babies. It's extremely damaging. Like so, like if you actually clock it, how many images coming out of, and that's how you know it's a false flag. How many images do you see actually came out of that event that happened on October 7th? Like the same 2 videos. Now, if you compare that to the amount of videos in Gaza of babies decapitated and dead mothers and whole families dead, it's like the whole world is just consuming this media. Like, you know, so that is playing a role. Like the minds of the people are being properly propagandized by Russia and them against the West. You know,
God. And it's just that's why that evil thought is gonna be put in the mind of these leaders. Just push the goddamn button. You know. Because everybody, the skirt is being lifted up like the brothers are posting on the comment boards. You know. We're seeing it. Okay.
Yeah, people are clipping every time they come out and say something, they're clipping it, posting it up on social media. Like they're looking terrible. Every time these Israeli ambassadors talk, they're looking terrible, man. You know?
Facts.
And you got all these influencers from around the world on TikTok. Like, if you really look at it, the amount of media that is against them is more than what the CNN can produce and the few agents that they got, you know, running around like Vocab Malone. Like, no one don't care what that guy got to say. You know?
Right.
Can't. Let's continue.
Damn hypocrite vocab. All right.
Dam guidance, which allows them to be guided toward relocatable targets from both bombers and fighter jets. Upon impact, the bombs can penetrate up to 38 centimeters of metal and up to 3 meters of concrete. The amount of bombs in the video is enough to level Gaza City. As if pounding neighborhoods in Gaza is not enough, the Israeli military is also setting the stage to launch a full-scale ground invasion into the northern half of the Gaza Strip.
Now, they've already done this, right? You were talking about this before we got on the camera about how they are going into the evacuation zones and everything like that, right? And we're going to see more of this. And it's going to lay waste to Palestinians. They're going to be massacred. And there's no hope.
This is where things could go horribly wrong. Hamas is believed to have around 40,000 fully trained soldiers, and since it's battling on its own turf, it will have the defenders' advantage. The Gaza Strip is riddled with underground tunnels, ambush sites, and concealed outposts equipped with ATGMs to destroy incoming Israeli tanks and vehicles. Gaza is also considered one of the most densely packed urban areas in the world. So house-to-house fighting in Gaza could get real ugly real fast.
Yeah, so I don't play those video games, but when you urban warfare and when they do these, basically they take combat simulations and make them into video games. A lot of these areas in main city Syria, main city Gaza, they utilize these places, and brothers that play those games can put it in there. But look at this picture and imagine being a soldier having to go house to house, how easily you can be ambushed, how hard it would be to go into that densely populated area and fight. Because really, Israel just wants to bomb the hell out of it, but they want that land. They don't want to just decimate the land because they want to take it over. So they have to do a mix of it so they can have something to come and deal with,
To give color to the military setting, Israel has fought Hamas 4 times before, in 2006, 2008, 2012, and as recently as 2021. Each conflict, however, ended indecisively. Hamas took a beating, but it retained complete control over Gaza. All the same, the Israelis say this time will be different, and it certainly looks that way. Up to 300,000 reservists have been called up, and government officials have vowed to destroy Hamas once and for all. Israel is now in the offing to deploy its military on a scale not seen before. However, as grim as these developments are, Hamas is not the main player. Plenty of vultures are circling the area, looking for easy pickings and new opportunities. About 200 kilometers to the north is Lebanon, which hosts Hezbollah. Backed by Iran in funding, planning, and expertise, Hezbollah is one of the world's deadliest non-state actors, certainly the most heavily armed one. Since the 1990s, it has grown from a band of ragtag.
And so this is where we read about in Joel, the 3rd chapter, in the 9th verse, proclaim ye this among the heathens, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's a process, right? That's a process. And you start to see some of that process of how Iranians and Russians have been feeding, and the United States have been feeding weapons, computer, all types of capabilities into these areas, okay?
Guerrilla rebels into a powerful fighting force numbering around 100,000 strong, according to the group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah. Having fought in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, Hezbollah is battle-hardened, and that counts for something. Its troops are trained like an army and equipped like a state. The group is believed to have received financial backing from Iran to the tune of $700 million every year.
700 million a year to kick ass. Let's go, champ. That's the weak saying I am strong.
For a non-state actor, that is a mind-boggling amount of money. Hezbollah is also armed with a large and diverse stockpile of unguided artillery rockets, as well as ballistic, anti-air, anti-tank, and anti-ship missiles. Its capacity for a sustained conflict overshadows that of Hamas many times over. If Israel's ground operation in Gaza does irreparable damage to Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran might be persuaded to intervene and rescue their ally in the Gaza Strip. However, since neither Iran nor Hezbollah has the air or ground forces capable of reaching Gaza, intervention would come mainly in the form of drones, rockets, and missiles. In a nutshell, Hezbollah is estimated to have an arsenal of roughly 130,000 rockets and missiles, a number that dates to 2018 and probably has grown since.
Now, you can see the capabilities of Hezbollah. So if he wanted to, as Israel goes in, they could just continue to send rockets to disrupt the invasion and give Hamas and their troops some type of a chance. Okay, and we're not even including Iranian drones. Okay, so this thing it's a powder keg. It's a powder keg.
Either way, that is more firepower than some of the member states of NATO. Speaking from Lebanon on October 13th, Iran's foreign minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian said there was every possibility of a second front if Israel's blockade of Gaza were to continue. If the gloves come off and Hezbollah joins the fight, it would turn the hostilities into a multi-front conflict for Israel, Hamas in the south and Hezbollah in the north. To boot, even Syria would get drawn into the fight since Hezbollah is deeply involved in the Syrian civil conflict, which means that Hezbollah's involvement would open two fronts simultaneously, one from South Lebanon and one from the Syrian-controlled part of the Golan Heights. Clearly, this would mark a point of no return. On day one, some 130,000 rockets would fly over Israel, resulting in tens of thousands of casualties. Israel would then have no choice but to let loose the full power of its air force. South Lebanon would be decimated in retaliation. The body count would stack up. Civilian casualties would be an afterthought at this point. Israel would then have to move into Beirut to topple the government. By this point, Syria and even Iran would fully take part in the fight as well. Fortunately, things are not at this stage yet, but the situation sits on a knife's edge. Israel has already deployed tens of thousands of troops to the border with Lebanon. It has struck the airports in Damascus and Aleppo. At the same time, Hezbollah has fired missiles into Israel, attempted to infiltrate Israeli towns, and launched drone attacks across the border. Things haven't been this tense in years. One miscommunication on either side and the setting could quickly spiral.
Now, you see how quickly things could go if some of these other small, not even a state, groups join in, and then whoever's their proxy, whoever's funding them as a proxy could join in. So right now we're talking about Hamas, Hezbollah, and Syria, and Iran joining in. We haven't even talked about the United States and the UN allies, okay, which obviously they will be a part of this, okay? So we're on the precipice of something extremely serious, and that the scriptures say, like we were reading in Joel the 3rd chapter, when you go to the 11th verse, it says, "Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thine mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." That and in the valley of Jehoshaphat is in that whole region. You had something, bro?
Yeah, I just sent you an interesting article because he mentioned about the Israeli Air Force doing airstrikes. The thing is at any moment in the conflict, if Russia decides to, Israel's getting knocked out of the sky, because their S-400s are actually in the region. They just don't use them. So I've just sent you an article. I could just read a little bit of that, and it kind of breaks it down.
Okay.
Russia basically just be chilling.
So I'm actually done with this, so we're not going to read that. Put this here.
Yeah, the Mac is struggling with them tabs. Huh?
You worry about what you got over there. At least I ain't getting no viruses. Worry about the attacks.
So what's it called? Scud's net or something?
All right. So this is in the Arab, the Arab Weekly. It says, when Israel bombs Syria, Russia turns a blind eye. Oh, yeah, this might be ending soon. Huh. Since the Kremlin is not willing to harm its relations with Israel for the sake of its alliance with Syria and a potential strategic partnership with Iran. Okay. Russia has deployed its most advanced S-400 air defense system to Syria, but the sophisticated weapon does not seem to work against Israeli jets. It is an open secret that Moscow, an ally of Russia's President Bashar al-Assad, allows Israel to conduct airstrikes against both the Syrian army and Iranian militias operating in the country. Russia's supremacy over Syria's airspace helped turn the conflict in al-Assad's favor. So why does it allow Israel to carry out its operations unimpeded? On December 28th, Israeli warplanes attacked the container complex at the port of Latakia in a part of Syria where Russia maintains its main naval base. The strikes hit a yard thought to house Iranian weapons shipments, but this was Israel's second attempt to destroy the cargo. The first one took place on December 7th, but was apparently less successful than the latest airstrike, which caused significant damage. That night, neither Russia's S-400 nor Syria's air defense systems attempted to hit the Israeli planes. The truth is, Russia never activates its air defense systems against Israeli jets. Such pacificity is believed to be part of a wider deal between the two countries. All right. Did you have any more points on that?
Yeah, that's basically it. So as things stand, they've been getting away with it, but
Yeah.
that can change.
Absolutely.
That can change quickly.
Well, was it you that sent me something? It might have been another brother that sent me something that basically where Putin was basically telling Israel that, I don't think we cool no more.
Yeah. They said that they're enemies. Yeah, they said that they're becoming enemies. Yeah.
I don't know if you have that article.
Yeah. It's the Daily Express. Hold on, let me
Okay, I think I got it.
Oh, you got it? Yeah.
I'm in an undisclosed location in Japan right now. So.
Konnichiwa.
All right. So this is the express.co.uk, Daily Express. Vladimir Putin turns on Netanyahu as he sees Israel as Russia's new enemy. See that? What is this? So, we were just reading that earlier why he wasn't turning on the systems. And now, 1 month in, he said, look, don't make me pimp slap you with my strong hand. He says Vladimir Putin will now see Israel as an enemy as he moves closer to Iran and sides with Hamas in the Middle East. Hamas has called Russia its closest friend as the terror group vows to release 8 Russian hostages kidnapped during its October 7th attack on Israel. Putin appears to be breaking from its previous line of neutrality over Israel and Palestine. This week, he called on Israel to cancel its ground invasion into Gaza. So you see how all this is playing out. Energy wars, political ties being broken. All these type of things are playing out and is leading to a wider ranging conflict in this region. Okay? Did you have anything else, bro?
Khan, we can keep going now. It's cool.
All right. What it is?
Still more, the United States has deployed an aircraft carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean. The USS Gerald R. Ford is the world's largest aircraft carrier and the largest warship ever constructed. It can field 75 aircraft, including F-35C jets. Its naval task is made up of 5 guided missile ships, 4 destroyers, and 1 cruiser. Altogether, it packs one heck of a punch, and its presence in the vicinity is meant to deter Hezbollah and other groups from jumping into the fight. In case the message wasn't clear enough, Washington is now sending a second aircraft carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean, led by the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. Using these deployments, America hopes it can prevent the conflict from expanding. However, Iran did not build up Hamas over the years, only to leave it alone to deal with Israel's devastating counteroffensive. In the 11th hour, Hezbollah would likely wait for Israel's invasion of Gaza and then launch a surprise attack at a time of its own choosing. Back in 2006, when hostilities erupted in the Gaza Strip and Israel launched a ground operation, Hezbollah launched an attack of its own, 2 weeks after the Israeli assault. To everyone's surprise, Hezbollah mounted sophisticated swarming attacks against the Israelis. It also put its rockets and missiles to work, firing almost 4,000 projectiles at Israel over a month. Today, Hezbollah's military capacity...
Now check this out now. And that talked about what they were able to do back in 2006. Fast forward to 2023. Let's take a look at Hezbollah now.
...is believed to have grown tenfold since the last military encounter 17 years ago. Moreover, while in 2006, Hezbollah stockpiled...
What'd you say, Ak?
I was just saying that's crazy, man. They turned up.
They went to the hyperbolic time chamber, bro. Have to level up.
While mostly consisted of inaccurate rockets, the group has since gathered a vast arsenal of precision-guided munitions thanks to friends in Tehran. And the bulk of these weapons are placed in concealed sites among the orange and banana plantations that are spread across southern Lebanon. So, to neutralize Hezbollah's threat of rockets and missiles, the Israelis would need to deploy into Lebanon and occupy the area. However, doing so would be tricky, even with the air superiority brought about by the Americans. Lebanon has mountainous terrain perfect for ambushes and attrition warfare. What's more, Hezbollah has long-range anti-ship missiles that could target the US aircraft carrier strike group in the vicinity. Whether these attacks could actually succeed is another story, but the point is that Hezbollah did not have such capabilities in the last war. It would therefore be a mistake to measure Hezbollah by its 2006 settings. Times have changed, and the group has gotten more robust and more capable. The Hezbollah of today will not necessarily confine itself to a defensive strategy. It could flip the script and take on a proactive battle plan. By use of range, terrain, experience, and sheer number, Hezbollah could launch a decoy swarm attack using inaccurate rockets and then follow through using its precision-guided missiles to strike at Israeli bases and critical infrastructure, including the 3 alleged nuclear assembly facilities in northern Israel. Yeah, blowing up nuclear facilities.
Yeah, and that's right in the areas where they put a lot of you Negroes who wanted to go back in that land. They they set your ass down by a lot of these highly volatile, dangerous sites.
That's the level of destruction we're at. And the thing is, it is easier for Hezbollah to strike an Israeli nuclear facility than it is for the Israelis and Americans to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. So, conflict with Hezbollah could quickly become a nasty fight where we could see tower for tower carnage.
And it's just like you're saying, by the time, if it comes to this, you're going to have Iranian S-400 systems, 500 systems, and you're going to have Syrian anti-missile defense systems all kicked in. And the thing about the Russian systems, they don't just defend. They immediately strike back.
Ark.
You send something in their way, they're gonna send you heat right back.
Ark.
Would you have
breaking news, and check the link, Baba Kasha.
Breaking news right here, live and direct. All right. What I like.
Exactly what we were just talking about.
Boom. Yeah, I got it. Pull this up real quick. Boom. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. This is in a word I cannot pronounce, and I am not going to try to. You guys can see the link. You can see the title. It says Russia warns Israel about attacks on Syria. Israeli jets have repeatedly targeted Syrian airports since October 7th. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Syrian Foreign Minister Vasil Mikdad. Russian Foreign Ministry via Sputnik says spreading conflict to other countries in the Middle East is unacceptable. Lavrov said on Tuesday, discussing a spat of recent Israeli airstrikes with his Syrian counterpart. Lavrov brought up the issue of Israeli airstrikes, which have become more frequent against the backdrop of events around the Gaza Strip. Says both ministers emphasized the danger of attempts by external forces to turn the Middle East in its current explosive situation into an arena for settling geopolitical scores. See? Mikdad phoned Lavrov to discuss the current situation in Gaza, as well as a number of bilateral issues and the progress in the ending the war in Syria. Says next paragraph, since the Hamas incursion from Gaza on October 7th, Israel has bombed Syria at least 3 times, repeatedly shutting down the airports in Aleppo and Damascus. One of the attacks was acknowledged by the Israeli ambassador to Germany, who said it was intended to disrupt weapons deliveries from Iran, which is always the excuse, right? Is there anything else you want me to read on this?
Yeah, that's it. So they're addressing it. Eventually, they're gonna be like, yo, put your arm across, you're gonna lose it.
Absolutely, man. And bros are putting on good scriptures to kind of align with that news. Ezekiel 38:8, after many days thou shalt be visited, in the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely among them. Okay. What's the other scripture that I saw? I'll get back to it in a minute. Come back to those comments here in a minute. Let me finish this up. Because wait, there's more. Remember the highlight of today is let the weak say that I am strong. We're showing you, bros, how these Ishmaelites have basically gathered up weaponry that can cause major damage.
Part of Iran's strategy has been to use Hezbollah to keep Israel permanently on edge. However, if Hezbollah and Iran have such an advantage, then why haven't they already unleashed hell? What's stopping full-out armed conflict? Well, for one, Hezbollah has some trouble at home. Lebanon as a state is barely hanging on. The country is in the midst of an economic crisis. Its currency has lost nearly 100% of its value in recent years. This hasn't affected the finances of Hezbollah, though. Its fighters are paid in dollars. However, the economic crisis in Lebanon affects Hezbollah's decision-making since it is legally part of the Lebanese government and has been since 2005. Conflict with Israel would throw Lebanon into an economic meltdown and likely affect Hezbollah's political standing for the worse. Even a rogue organization such as Hezbollah needs some public support to hold on to its parliamentary seats. Ultimately, though, whether Hezbollah gets involved or not depends on its patron, Iran.
Yeah, so Hezbollah is like a mercenary army that basically has got up in there, and they got so big that the governing nation is like, yo, we good? Yeah, okay, we'll give you these seats, we'll give you a little political power, but as long as you be on our side, we need those votes.
Since taking over the presidency in 2021, Ibrahim Raisi has taken an increasingly hard line in foreign policy. His cabinet is filled with former generals, people who know only the hammer as a tool and see everything as a nail.
All right, so you see how politically things have switched for Iran. Now they're getting more and more militant.
Iran has since taken a belligerent stance against Afghanistan, Turkey, Azerbaijan, the United Arab Emirates, and yes, Israel. However, Raisi's political turn to the right has certain restrictions. Employing Hezbollah's vast rocket and missile arsenal would mean exhausting it as leverage for years to come. At present, one of the most compelling strategic reasons dissuading Israel or the United States from launching an assault on Iran's nuclear facilities is the firepower of Hezbollah. Employing that firepower in the current Gaza conflict would mean depleting it as a means of deterrence, thereby neutralizing its role as a deterrent.
All right, so basically saying, hey, we set Hezbollah up. We got them all these rockets and this firepower, but they got that one shot. They can't just be having these, skirmishes, use up all their firepower, and then they be stuck out there. So to get into a full blown conflict, it's got to be a serious, like, okay, it's time type of decision, if that makes sense. Okay. So if we're at the point to where they got the finger on the trigger, we know, oh, okay, this is very serious, because they know they got one shot, and they're gonna go all in. Ain't gonna be no in between. They're going for the gusto. Okay, that's a good scripture on the comment board. 2 Ezra 15:29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried away as the wind upon the earth, that all they which bear them may fear. And I guess he's posting the rest. I might just go pull it up myself. May fear and terrible. Let me see. Pull that up. Boom. Fear and tremble of 2 Ezra 15 and 30. It says, also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, which that's talking about the Iranians. And with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Syrians. Okay. So we're seeing all of these different spots and places in and around this area be utilized as a place for war. You got American warships right here in the Mediterranean Sea. You got the Iranians, okay? You got Syria up in here. You got Lebanon, okay, and Syria, okay. So we talked about what's going on over there in Gaza. Egypt can jump up in here. You got all of Saudi Arabia implicated. Okay, scriptures talk about this. Okay, when you read here in Joel, the second chapter, in the 20th verse, it says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land of barren and desolate." All right, so you're gonna have the horde that rideth upon the beast, Babylon the Great, is gonna be all up in the mix amongst all these heathen round about, coming to war. With his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up. Okay, so when you look at this, you have the Euphrates River and the Red Sea, the East Sea and the utmost sea, and in all this region, you're going to have stink coming up because of war, because of flame and fire and destruction and mayhem. The war of Armageddon. All right, that's why that stink is going to come up. Then ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. There's going to be great battles all up in there. All right, and those battles are going to cause the stink to come up. That's why these nations are getting these ornaments to prepare. All right, did you have something required, Quan?
Yeah, I was saying not to mention as well. Someone I've tried to get some kind of confirmation, but someone did say that there's 50, what was it, 50 warships from 11 different nations in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea right now. And I know I did hear that
Man, I heard that too.
China's got 6. Yeah, China's got 6 warships down there now as well. Amid these tensions, so there's definitely a ramping up. You know, something's gonna happen. We know it's prophecy, but right, it's gonna have to happen when the Lord wants it to happen. You know, that's pursuant to Revelations, the 7th chapter. You know, them angels are holding back that destroying wind, man, until because like the elders breaking down, there ain't gonna be no in between. Once it's green light, it's gonna be a madness. There's never been this amount of destructive power on the earth before.
God. Yeah, it's a powder keg ready to blow.
Yeah, right.
Ready to blow. I'm gonna play the rest of this portion of this, okay?
Can't. Is there sound?
Was it muted?
Yeah. I didn't hear anything just now.
All right, I'm playing.
Doing so would then leave Iran open and exposed to devastating aerial bombardment by the Americans. So while the Iranians are talking tough, strategically they may want to preserve Hezbollah's rocket arsenal in order to save themselves from destruction. That's something to think about. Given this, the handful of missiles that Hezbollah has fired at northern Israel to date can be seen as a means to complicate Israeli operations by raising the specter of a northern front without actually opening one.
There we go.
Conflict in Gaza could still trigger a regional war, but Hezbollah and Iranian officials know that Israel can hammer them even if wounded or distracted. Israel has Hamas in the crosshairs, and it is not open to negotiation. Iran and Hezbollah can either steer clear of the line of fire or join the battle. Tehran has built up Hamas into the danger it is, but Hezbollah is the one rocking the stage and stealing the show. As a proxy, it is too important to lose. Iran cannot afford it. If push comes to shove, it is usually better to give up a pawn if it means protecting a rook. I've been your host.
Boom. So I felt like this video gave a great analysis of the potential threats that are happening with this conflict that's happening over there in the land of Gaza right now. And I think it just reminds people of how quickly something can escalate. You know, this thing can truly escalate extremely quickly. Now, the Brother Required Quorum sent me this, and this is one of our favorite websites. It's called Global Firepower. And this right here is just doing an assessment of the Middle East strength. Okay, when you take a look at things, okay, when you take a look at things, you see that Turkey is number 1. Then you got Egypt. Then number 3 is Iran. Okay, then you have the state of Israel is number 4. Saudi Arabia right underneath that. Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Syria, Qatar, and Yemen. All these nations like Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, all these nations could jump in this thing quick. Okay. Now we saw the firepower of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and they're number 15 in the list. They low on the list compared to what we're looking at as the main guys. So the amount of devastation that could happen, it's just out of this world. It's out of this world. Now, I saw a brother posted this. Is actually something I was going to get to as well. It says Yemen's Houthis say they launched ballistic missile drones at Israel. I want to make sure that when we want to talk about Yemen's Houthi rebels, That is not the Yemen government, but it is a proxy army set up by Iran in Yemen. Okay, and they have been receiving armaments as well from Iran. So now, whether they have the PR guy that's just going to come and make some random announcement is, is a part of the propaganda. So we don't know. But with everything that's going on, war does seem to be on the horizon. Okay, do you have anything out?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that covers a lot of the things that I wanted to bring up. Did you have any other thoughts or anything that you want to go to in addition?
Let me just see if there was any other links that we had here. There's another gas army. No, I think we pretty much let me see. Let me just check. I think there's another link that I had from Twitter. But I think it might go over some of the stuff we've all.
Got it. GMS North Carolina 777 put Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So this battle that we see is going to be nothing but just missile fire and flame consuming people. It's not going to be a lot of this one-on-one combat type of stuff. You ain't going to see that. You're just going to see asses getting handed to them by missiles. So heaps of people dead. Okay.
We
These
can get
scriptures.
Slacker.
Yeah, I got you. You want me to pull something up?
Yeah, the two Twitter ones, we could pull that out because they're short clips, and we could finish off on them.
Okay.
In the private chat, this should be short. There's one below it. It says, "Why haven't the Israelis already invaded?"
Oh yeah. I remember you. Why haven't the Israelis always invaded? Let me see.
Already, yeah. There's two of them, and Scott Ritter kind of breaks it down,
Okay. Okay.
We can finish up on that.
Yeah, it's pulling up real slow. For some reason.
Is that Mac?
Yes. Y'all let me know if y'all can see this. There we go.
They're going to be just dead up straight with you. They're going to die. They're going to die in numbers that the Israelis haven't seen before. And the Israeli military knows it. Why do you think they haven't gone in yet? Because they know what's going to happen. Hamas is ready for them. Hamas is prepared for them. Hamas told Iran. Iran said, hey, look, if you guys are in trouble, we'll come in now. Hamas said, we got this, boss. We are ready for this. We don't need your help. We don't want your help. Hamas is luring the Israelis into a death trap in Gaza. And that's what's going to happen to the Israeli army when they go into Gaza. They're going to die. If the Israelis go into Gaza, what are they going to do? Judge, I'm going to be just dead up straight with you. They're going to die. They're going to die in numbers that the Israelis haven't seen. The military knows it. Why do you think they haven't gone in yet? Because they know what's going to happen. Hamas is ready for them.
They got them reservists. Them reservists ain't no soldiers, man. They're just like people working in Starbucks and, they're gonna be shaking going up in there, man. You know what I mean? And there was another clip. It's about a 5-minute clip, and that's it.
Get this sucker to pull up so I can paste it. Trip.
Yeah, that's another thing. You know, the Israeli army is what they do is they have a situation where they have mandatory conscription. I believe it's for 2 years. That's how they maintain the army. And so a lot of the Israeli all of the Israeli citizens pretty much have served for 2 years, but that doesn't mean that they're experienced soldiers. And a lot of them, their heart isn't even in fighting anyway. They just really want to leave. It's different, you know, when you're going in there and the people you're going in there against really hate you, and they're used to hardship, they're used to war, they're used to death, and you've just basically come out of Starbucks and they put a gun in your hand. It's not going to be pretty.
And people really think in the West that they're going to be doing that because they play video games. It's just insanity.
Nah, it's different. It's different. The thing is, when you're in that ambush situation, you have to be extremely brave because the bullet could be coming from
48
anywhere,
hours.
and you're just hearing noise. So, yeah.
Let me turn this up and play this, okay?
Can't finish up on this one.
The Israelis right now are scared to death. Scared to death. They mobilized 360,000 reservists. Let's just put this in perspective. The vast majority of these people did their 2.5 years military service. The Israeli army is not very good. They have some units that are very capable, some of their special forces units, some of their specialized units. They have some technical units that are very good. But the mainstay, the infantry units, the armor units, they're not very good. And they become even less good by being pulled back from conventional combat duties to policing duties in the West Bank. So most of these reservists spent their time walking the streets in the West Bank, learning how to break the arms of 10-year-old children, how to rough up 15-year-old girls, and how to belly shoot 60-year-old men. That's what they did. Brutal occupation. It was horribly demoralizing for many of these people. They didn't like doing this, and when they left the military, they didn't have a high regard for the military. So now they're back, but this time they're being called upon to do something that nobody in Israel wants to do. Go into Gaza. Why? Because in 2014 they went into Gaza and Hamas handed it to them. In 2006 they went up against Hezbollah and Hezbollah handed it to them. The Israeli army just isn't that good, and they're scared to death because Hamas is waiting for them. This is one giant ambush, and the Israeli intelligence is blind. They don't know where they are. They're going to have to go in there and probe, and as they probe, they're going to be blown up, ambushed, slaughtered, and they know this. The other thing that scares them is once they go into Gaza, they're going to be committed to that battle with the bulk of their reserves. And if at that time Hezbollah decides to open up a northern front, Israel's got nothing left. And even if they had something left, they can't beat Hezbollah. They can't beat Hezbollah. They know it. They've exercised it. Last year, Chariots of Fire. This year, Firm Hand. Those are the names of two major exercises where Israel tested its ability to fight a conflict against the Palestinians and Hamas in the West Bank and Hezbollah up north, and they can't do it. They don't have the resources to do it. Now you throw in Iran, and they're definitely screwed. So America is stepping in saying, hey, we're going to flex our muscle in an effort to deter Hezbollah and Iran from striking. It's not working. 2 aircraft carrier battle groups and an amphibious ready group of 2,000 Marines does not a war win. And we don't have anything behind that. We got nothing. And so if they come, so I think what's going to happen is that Biden is going to try and talk some common sense into Netanyahu and let him know the hard reality that, we flexed our muscles here, but if Hezbollah comes across the border, we'll bomb them, but we can't stop them. It's up to you. And if you can't stop them, you're screwed. And so you might want to think about coming up with a different solution than the one you're picking right now of a full-faced invasion. Right? There's a lot of things go behind to say the Israelis aren't as good as everybody thinks they are. They're very scared. Netanyahu is very weak. Remember how weak he was moving into this before the Hamas invasion. He was getting ready to collapse because of what he was doing with the judiciary and the reform, the rewriting of basic law. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis were in the streets.
Yeah, we talked about that on the previous algorithm. So if you watch that, you know what he's talking about. Just Netanyahu was already in a bad spot, and this is kind of like a desperation move on his part, it seems. you know, to claim power and to get glory with the people, I guess. But Most High's putting them in a trick bag, and the scriptures talk about pride coming before a fall, and how this place is the centerpiece. Its leaders are so prideful that they believe that they can do it. They're looking down on their enemies. All right.
It's gotten worse for him because everybody's blaming. He was Mr. Security. I will protect you. I am the man. And look what happened. Nobody trusts him. There's a lot of Israeli talk going on, a lot of hot air coming out of the mouthpieces of Netanyahu's minions. None of it's backed up by reality. And the fact is, Israel's extraordinarily weak, extraordinarily exposed, extraordinarily scared, and America doesn't have a solution for them.
And I guess is the template to look at what would happen to Israel, just look at Ukraine?
It would be worse than that, because Ukrainians right now don't have a place to run to. Millions of Israelis have dual citizenship, and they'll just leave Israel. I mean, that's the death of Israel. Every Israeli I've talked to said, we can't. This happened in 1991 when the Iraqi Scuds came in. One of the big things they were saying is it's not so much the damage, physical damage that the Iraqi Scuds are doing, it's the emotional and psychological damage it's doing to Israelis. If we can't get the European Jews and the American Jews to want to come here and stay here, it's over for the Israeli experiment.
Boom. Is there more on that you wanted?
No, that's pretty much it, man. It's like these guys that it plays into what we were saying. Let the weak say I am strong. It's not like how it used to be. They can't just roll over these people. You know what I mean? And so all of that's going to lead to, if the Israelis go all out, America has to help them, which means NATO has to help America, and then vice versa on the other side. If Iran and them go all out, Russia can't afford for them to lose. China can't afford for them to lose because they're all trying to build together. So you can see all these alliances that it's called the global. That's it, bro. Since when were they using this term, by the way? Were they using this term 10 years ago? I don't know this global South thing, but they call it the global South, which is basically South America, Africa, and Asia. And then you can add Russia to that because Russia is part of that. The BRICS nations, the global South are trying to build together, but they need all the team members. So they can't afford for anyone to really fall by the wayside. And so that's how this thing that's going to start off in the Middle East is going to escalate to something which is a global war. People are just going to have to jump in, you know?
That's right.
And then, that's second that's just 15, second that's just 16. And none of these nations really want it because they know how devastating it will be. But the Most High is going to orchestrate it where, those Israelis are going to do something stupid. It's not even a proper country. That's why. It's just a criminal organization, man. So, yeah, that's very telling, man. Dudes are gonna get torn up over there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I've been trying to highlight these scriptures, but yeah, that's pretty much the point, man. Yeah, that's pretty much the point. The water for all the information that you gave and everything like that. Very, very good stuff. And Lord willing, this was edifying for all you bros and sisters that's listening and everything like that. Sisters, And so, Lord willing, that was edifying, man. Did you have any closing statements, bro?
Yeah, man. But just also, you gotta look on the economic front, man. While this thing's happening over there, Fed could be the Fed rate hike tomorrow. There's a lot of things going on, man. A lot of crises are gonna start merging together. So yeah, we are focusing on what's happening over there, but remember, there could be anything happening that's gonna add to that too. Stock market crash, banking crisis, those things haven't stopped. So you never know, man. That's why the scripture says you have to be circumspect. We got to be spiritually ready for all things. When the Bible says it's going to be a time that there has never been, then that means we got to be ready for all of the above. Just crazy events that are happening back to back and simultaneously. So, you know, just keep your eyes open, you know, and stay in the spirit. You know, you've got these other camps trying to get drawn into stupid little beefs with Arabs on the street. You know, like, ain't nobody got time for that, man. It's hard enough to concentrate on all this news, man, and the scriptures, man. What the hell am I having punch-ups for, man?
Yeah.
So, yeah, stay locked in.
We're going to see how we're going to see how that ends up for them. But yeah, man, just like you said, there's still a lot of implications that needs to go down. We know it's going to culminate in a physical battle that these nations have. But, you know, now you got all these refugees and potential militants crossing all the western borders, getting into France and Spain, getting all the way up into the UK, getting up into the United States. And so there could be cyber attacks. There could be, you know, some type of, you know, domestic occurrence, you know, within the Western Front, you know, that shut down the banks and all the systems. That perplexity that the scriptures talk about in the book of Luke, you know, all of that are ramifications for to be instituted.
You know, and they could use an event anyway, because they're kind of losing the propaganda war. So they could do with you know, so a nice little false flag in it to get the people on side. So yeah.
So. Yeah. Well, hey man, hey, like I said once again, hey, I say call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of wisdom. Much peace, love, and salutations to y'all. Came out there pushing the word, sincerely and truth. Shalom.
Shalom.